how can we support ourselves to show up better?
Absolutely. And again, the whole self-care term and all those kinds of things, going to the spa and getting treatments and things like that, those are very temperamental, and they are just, they'll go by the wind, and they'll come and go. Usually when I approach this with any of the clients that I have, I try to reshape the ideas of self-care by helping you understand what a value system is. When you start to realize what a value is in your life is different than your beliefs in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So if I use an example of, if I value education and I value learning, that's something that I core value in my life. So once I realize that that is a value of mine, my beliefs start to get shaped around it. Meaning, I believe that I can become educated and learn better by listening to this podcast. I believe that I can educate myself by going to take classes, or reading a book, or writing things, or
Mm-hmm.
listening to other mentors and things like that. But all of those beliefs surrounding it can shift and morph, but they always have to come back to your core value. So when you start to realize what a value is and different than a belief system, you have to realize that valuing yourself is where you need to be. And then your belief system on how you get there changes drastically. So when you value your own time, your own
Mm-hmm.
effort, your own calmness, your own focus, your own process, all of those things all come to a culmination of figuring out what you value. That's not the difference. It's the difference between self-care, which is how it's really used, and then really truly getting to the core of why it's so difficult for a lot of us to even approach this space, because many of us don't understand what we value in life.
Mm-hmm. So how do we
And
find our values? How do we highlight if for someone who doesn't know what they value?
sure, I work with this a lot in this aspect. And one of the things that I try to work with the clients is the definition of success to them. You have to be able to define what it means to do the things that you're doing. So that once you start doing the process of saying, oh, I am doing the things, I am becoming organized, I am doing this. You're doing that because there's an underlying value of what you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to get to. So you're still working at a surface level of doing the things, which are good, but you don't know why you're doing them.
Yeah, you're not at the core
You're
of
not at
what.
the core,
Mm.
because what you're doing, all those ancillary aspects, you're hoping shape your values.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. They never will. No matter, because now you're doing what people tell you to do or should do or how to operate in the world. And you're operating off of another person's external ideas and concepts about what will work for you. That's why you
Mm-hmm.
get into conflict about all the things that you do and they just don't work.
Mm-hmm.
You have to sit down and say, okay, I value organization because it
Mm-hmm.
helps me know that when I get up in the morning, I'm going to have lunches ready for the kids. I know I'm going to be on time. I know that I'm going to be able to get the work done. And I know that I'm going to be able to write down everything I need to do. That's when you can start to reshape what you value and why you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a very big difference between just doing it ancillary aspects and hoping it happens, and then
And
truly
having a
defining why you're doing it.
methodical plan. Mm. So when you have your value and you understand why you have this value and
Mhm.
how that can or how that reflects then on how you also see success.
Yes.
I'm gonna let that sit in for a bit because I never really thought about that, to be honest. It's not something that because I do all the things. It's exactly what you said. I'm doing
Yeah.
all the things on the outside.
Yep. And that's honestly, you are not the only one. This is very common in most people because we tend to separate aspects rather than building off of on top of really what the foundation of needs to get done. And that's really
Mm.
truly one of them. But it really does make you sit back and think once you start to actually implement it, and you
Mm.
really think about the things that you're doing in your daily basis and whether or not they align with what you value.
Mhm.
You start to shift slowly, and you start to have things that come onto your list of to do, and they start making their way off.
Mhm. So would you perhaps then say self-care is not about getting a massage, but rather just focusing on your core
Mhm.
values and just working on those
Correct.
because that's what's going to fulfill you?
Mhm. Because the fulfillment will only come from a place of confidence.
Yeah.
And if you confidently know that what you value is this,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing stopping you,
Yeah.
rather than just, haphazardly going at things. Hopefully something sticks on the wall. And
Yeah.
that's usually how a lot of us operate. I used to operate that way. I used to do it all the time. So with the recognition of coming from the side of doing that to now understanding what it takes to get there, it's a process for sure.
Mm-hmm. And how do you suggest people go about aligning this? Is it, and when you think about core values, because you can also have you can have a lot of different things that are important to you.
Mhm.
Do you have a way or a method that you work with that kind of just brings it down to perhaps a certain number of core values that you align with?
Most of the time, when I start talking about values, you can have multiple different values in your life, but a lot of the times, the values are the things that usually are steadfast in how you choose to operate.
Okay. So
So,
like already pre-programmed kind of.
yes, and you can add as you keep going, but you have to be able to understand who you are. Some
Mm,
people choose money as their value and they chase after money, and that's something that they truly do value. So, their
mm,
belief system and then how they operate will focus toward that.
mm,
And you're but the change of money, you're still going to value it 30 years from now. You're
mm,
still going to value it on your deathbed.
yeah.
You might not have the same placement toward it, but you still value it.
Mm. I love what you're talking about because I find it really empowering. And when I hear stuff like this, I'm like, yes, I am writing my values, I'm setting my boundaries. But what I find, and I think this will often happen when anxiety comes in, when a stressful situation comes,
Mhm.
when the mental overload gets a bit much, the day to day of actually doing it, practicing these things, showing up,
Mhm.
remembering even can
Oh,
become
yeah.
really difficult. So, how can we even, I guess, do it on the day to day? Is there ways to kind of bring this in? Is there a practice that you have that brings us into the day to day? Because otherwise, something stressful happens and then bam, all your good intentions out the window.
Absolutely. That used to happen. I used to get hit by that truck often. Um, and I will tell you that probably the most important thing is your morning structure for me. That's what
Mm,
I would tell everyone to begin with. Um, because when I get up in the morning, I choose to meditate.
mhm,
And what that meditation process does for me, and that's a key word. Everyone hears it. Everyone, has an idea and concept of really what it is.
mm,
But to remove the stigmatism of really what meditation is for you is a check in to see what you need in life. So when
mm,
you sit down and you try to meditate and you can't because your brain is moving too quickly, that's the indicator that you need to slow down today. You don't get to make big decisions. You don't
mm,
get to do big, giant things because your brain is too quick today. And in
mhm,
that moment, you're not going to make clear, concise decisions. And if you sit down in the morning and you give yourself 10 minutes and you say, okay, before I do anything, I'm just going to go. Because when you breathe in, you're activating your sympathetic nervous system, which is activating your fight or flight. And when
mm,
you breathe out, your longer exhales actually increase the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest, relaxation, and digestion. So
mm,
that trigger, even just breathing aspects, which come along with meditation, prep your body for how you're going to be in the day. So
mm,
don't look at meditation as clearing your mind, making sure that you think of nothing and only breathing and only checking in. There's a massive amounts of different types of meditation you can do.
mm.
But I choose meditation because it allows me to check in with myself.
Yeah, ask
That
yourself, how are you going today? What do you need today?
that's it.
I don't think I need to tell you that your health is one of the most important aspects to a fulfilling life. Whether it's being fully active in the things you love, keeping up with your children, or walking out of the house and feeling confident in your body. Chances are, if you're listening to this, you're ready for change. But let's face it, it's not always easy. It can be confusing and super overwhelming, and everyone seems to be teaching that one thing. But the problem is, our health is not whittled down to just one thing. And until you take a holistic approach to taking care of yourself and your health, chances are you'll be missing more than one thing. That's where I come in. I work with motivated people who are ready to reclaim their health in a holistic way. And I walk them through the essential things they need to succeed. Whether you're starting your health journey or looking for the next step, you're going to see how to do things differently. To step into the role you need to reclaim your health, head over to alanaboneman.com to get started. Thanks for listening, be well, and I'll catch you next time.